Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Synth Stuff. Today is going to be a fairly short and simple video. We're going to be addressing a question that comes up on my comments fairly often, and I saw it come up again just the other day. It's people who are having difficulty comprehending how splits work with MIDI. Coming up. So what is a split? Well, bitimbral synthesizers like the Summit and the System 8 and the Hydrosynth Deluxe can have two different sounds in them. So it's two instances of a synthesizer. In the Summit, we have two peaks inside a single Summit, whereas a System 8 just is built that way. Hydrosynth Deluxe actually has two Hydrosynths inside it. So you can actually have each key operate both synthesizers, or you can split the key bed up and have half or part of the key bed operate one synthesizer and the other half operate another synthesizer. Keyboards such as the Montage can have so many different sounds. You could split the key bed up into all different sounds and have a bass down here and a guitar and then a piano, and you can split that all up. Workstations such as like the Phantom can do that as well. In the instance of the Summit here, here's a sound that has a split in it. So you can hear there's one sound on the lower side, and starting right here at middle C, you can see it changes. So down below we have this swirly kind of pad sound, and then up here bells kind of sounds. So we have two different sounds split on the key bed. Now there are also layers where we could actually tell that to layer it. So now each key is going to play both sounds. And obviously this sound was not designed for that, but you can hear the bells and the pads are playing at the same time. And we might want to use that for complex sounds like this that have many different layers and nuances to them that require those layers of both sounds in order to create. So the question is, what if you have a MIDI controller and you want to use that MIDI controller to operate the split in another keyboard? And that's where the disconnect comes. And I can show you what we're talking about here. If I switch back to a split here, here's our bell and pad. I'm going to turn the volume down on the Summit, and I'm going to bring up this and put it into a split mode on the System 8. So up on System 8, we have this bass sound on the lower side, on the first octave, and then above that, we have this kind of a pad sound. So now you would think, okay, so now it's split here. So if I play, and I've got, actually I should say, I've actually MIDI'd through my Mio XL MIDI router. I've routed the Summit, so any MIDI coming out of the Summit goes into the System 8. So I should be able to play the System 8 from the Summit using the Summit just as a controller keyboard. And it works. You can hear me playing the bass, and then I get nothing. Wait a second, what's going on there? What happened to the top half? Where's all my pads? There's nothing happening. So what's happening is a misunderstanding between how splits actually operate. You have to think about, when you start doing MIDI routing like that, you have to think about the key bed separate from the synthesizer. So if we take the key bed apart and we were just say, okay, here's our key bed, and it's connected via MIDI to the synthesizer internally. That's what's happening. So if we change that and say, well, this key bed is now sending MIDI to this synthesizer instead, it's only going to be sending what we're telling it to. And in this case, it's sending all our MIDI on an individual channel, channel 1, up to here, and that's our issue, is that most synthesizers, especially bitimbral, when you put them into a split mode or layer mode, you can address those two individual sounds or instances on different MIDI channels. In this case, it's MIDI channel 1 and 2. Same here, 1 and 2. Hydrosynth, again, if you split channels 1 and 2. The actual split occurs inside the synthesizer, not in the key bed. So the controller doesn't know to say, hey, after this C, everything else needs to be on MIDI channel 2. It just says, oh, send MIDI, because it doesn't know what the split is set up on the System 8. So it's sending everything on MIDI channel 1 because that's all it knows how to do, because we're just sending MIDI. The split, again, occurs inside the synthesizer engine. The System 8 gets all that stuff on MIDI channel 1 and plays it just like it should until we get up to the split point, and then it just quits because there's nothing else for it to play, because inside the synthesizer engine on the System 8, the split occurs right there. So it's got nothing else to play on channel 1. If I were to change the Summit to send MIDI data on channel 2, the opposite would happen. It would play all this stuff up here, but it wouldn't be able to play anything on the bass down here. So that's the problem, and that's what the person who was asking the question was encountering. How do you get around that? On some synthesizers, you may not be able to tell it to, hey, send only these keys on MIDI channel 1 and these keys on MIDI channel 2. In other words, you might not be able to split the key bed in terms of the MIDI that it's sending. However, on virtually all MIDI controllers, you can do that. You can set up a split on the MIDI controller and tell it, hey, everything from here to here, I want to be transmitting on MIDI channel 1. Everything from here to here, I want it to transmit on MIDI channel 2. Then route that to your synthesizer that is in split mode, and it will obey that and play it correctly. So that's the answer. I know that's kind of a long-winded explanation to a simple question, but I wanted to explain why it's happening so you're not so confused as to what's going on and why is it only playing part of the keyboard. I've seen people confused by this so many times, and I saw somebody who was confused again and posted on a comment on one of my videos asking about this. So I thought, I've had enough people ask this question. I'm just going to do a quick video that explains it and explains the reasoning why and how MIDI routes with splits. I hope you like what you saw here. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments section below. If you like this video, click like, and please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.